Hello and good morning, everyone. Good to see you today. Paul Trini here with today's daily creative challenge. Appreciate you guys. Love seeing some friendly faces in the crowd. So anyways, so happy to see you. I'm going to dive into this. I only have 30 minutes. I don't got a lot of time. I do always want to kind of emphasize this message, by the way, in terms of kind of where things are at today. Just know that this is a safe space and we're all friends, and we won't stand up for any injustice happening pretty much anywhere. So if you ever see anything, see something, say something. But we stand by kind of what's happening today with various protests because we think inequality is a huge issue. So a big hug to you. Appreciate you guys. And let's keep the positivity going. And we're going to need all the positivity we can get to make it through this journey through Photoshop, right? This is day 8, actually, as we travel through this lovely map. In fact, if I switch screens, you'll see it right here on my desktop. So I will share this map with everyone tomorrow because it will be cool if you turn this into a Behance project, your various designs that you've made. I think this would be cool, like masthead or whatever. Use it for whatever you want, right? But again, we just kind of gone through these various journeys together. Healing brush. I think we could all use a little healing brush these days, right? Things real. Drink some coffee, Paul. Yes, you're right, Darius. How did you know? I desperately need coffee. So we'll go right over here. This abstract PSD, that's the one you're going to open up from the website. Again, this is what it looks like. All right, Robin, want to welcome you. You finally made it to a live stream. No, that's not how you do it. Challenge. I'm not even watching what I'm doing. Drink some coffee, Paul. I agree. Right down here, this lists all the challenges. This is your resource right here. Abstract geometry, create a design that focuses on abstract geometry using vector tools and clipping masks. I want to cover vector tools because when you do need to use them, you could do it right, or you kind of, things will get screwed up and you don't know why. So it's more about watching out what to look for in case things break, right? So we'll open this up. I do apologize. The file size is a little large, but here's some royalty-free, lovely images. I thought it'd be cool to have a cool abstract shape in the sky or in this landscape right here. In this landscape, it would just be really awesome. That's kind of the plan, right? And we can always decide on that later. But let's dive into this. Robin, you've been watching. I'm glad you've been watching the replays as well. That's good. Continue to do that. Let's dive right into this. Concerning the vector tools, there's vector tools and there's vector shapes as well. We'll go right over here because they're right down here, right? We can see right here the way of the vector tools that you'll be using or that you can use to make vector elements are right in here. You're going to have the pen tool and all of these various tools, right? It's pretty much these first 3 is for drawing, okay? And then right down here, these are your shapes, right? So let's kind of start with the drawing, for instance. We can go in with the pen tool. Is going to work exactly the way we think it's going to work. I can go ahead and draw out. In fact, let's switch the background just to make this a little bit easier to see. There we go. Maybe that's easier, right? We can see this path that I just made, right? We can change this as well right up here at the top. To make it easier to see, we can change this rubber band right here. Turning that on, that forecasts the next move or the next segment of the line that I'm going to create, right? I can come in here and then connect those like that. Okay, so what did I just make? Did I make a shape? I did not, because again, I do this all the time. Right up here, check this out. I wanted to make a shape and I made a path, right? So be aware of this little snafu. Like you'll change it to path, you change the shape, and it stays to your last setting. So shape is what I actually want. And now when I go in and click around, it might look exactly the same. It starts to fill it in because I have black as my fill color. And there's our nebulous blob in the sky, okay? You made a path, congratulations. Right here it is. That path is now a shape, right over here, right? Now for that shape, we can give it a gradient if we want to, right? Super interesting what's happening here. I gave this a gradient. Okay, this shape layer works differently than a pixel-based layer. If, for instance, I have a pixel-based layer right here, okay, this happens to be, I'll just hit B for brush and I'll paint something dramatic. Just kidding. There we go. If I go in and apply a gradient or a color, it's going to be part of that shape. Watch as I try to like attach that gradient to this line, it adds it as a gradient fill. So just be aware of that. Vector layers work differently than raster or pixel-based layers. So now for this shape, so let's turn that off. We kind of get that. For this shape, if I double click on it, that's when I can jump in and change the gradient to something else if I want to, right? Hopefully that makes sense. I can change the angle, do all that fun stuff as well. Okay. Apparently we're making amoebas. That seems to be the case, right? And that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to make something that looks dumb. Can we call it what it is? It's going to look, I don't know, ridiculous. Not what I want. It's not what I want. It's not a geometric shape. I want to do some cool abstract geometry. I'm not going to use that for it, but I'm showing you how to draw because this is going to come in handy later. So throw that away. Let's go into some of our other tools, right? We can go in, take a rectangle tool, right? Draw this out. There's my rectangle. It does the same thing. We have rectangle 1. Command T, right, to rotate it like that. We can start to add, say, a gradient on top of that as well, right? So there's our gradient. Put it in a different landscape, for instance, like that. There we have our lovely rectangle. Okay. We'll double click on it. We could see the gradient right in here as well. And notice how it has a stroke right up here at the top, right? So notice how I drew this initially with a stroke. So you'll look for the line, you're like, oh, I want to get rid of that black line, but all you see is this gradient fill. You'll double click on the layer, you're like, oh, it's not there. That's because if you have that layer selected up here at the top, this is how you can control those options. So we'll take this stroke, yeah, we can scrub it up, right? We could obviously see how thick that gets, right? Make it thicker or make it disappear altogether by clicking on it and selecting that line like so. Okay, cool. Take it, scale it, and we can play with it some more. How you guys doing? All right. Cool. Yeah, so let's talk about, I made this basic gradient. I think it'd be cool. Feel free. I want you to draw a shape. I'm going to show you all the shapes that are already pre-made that we can add as part of our cool design, right? So that we want to go beyond a rectangle or a diamond. Right in here, you'll go down here to your custom shape tool. You'll select your custom shape tool. This is what I do anyways. And then you'll go up to the top where you could actually pick your shape. And now you'll see all these elements that you might not have, right? Mensa, good morning to you, my friend. Let's go right over here. How do I get all these crazy shapes, right? I want to show you where those are. And I want to introduce you to the shapes panel. This is actually, we've made shapes a first-class citizen finally, right, in the last release. So here's shapes, bringing it over, right? And I have all these crazy shapes in here. What did I do? And I should really go through this process, but I tell you, how do you get all these amazing shapes? How do you get them all? Look at all these gorgeous. Like I want to use a heart. Well, guess what? Right up to this flyout menu, go down to Legacy Shapes and More. Pop. I've just added this folder of Legacy Shapes and More, right? It adds it to the bottom. And these are all the lovely signs and flags and stuff and things and arrows, right? So that's how you add all these awesome common symbols, honestly, that I use a lot, right? So that's what I'll jump in and start to use, like symbols and shapes right in here. Perfect. There it is. There's a heart. I could select that heart. I could drop it right on my design, my current design, make that larger. We'll nest that off to the side. Come on, buddy. Snap into place. Come on, buddy. There. Come on, buddy. Sometimes the software takes coaxing. Like, come on, you can do it. All right, fine. You're there. You're fine. Okay, crazy shapes. Okay, let's... There it is. There's our gradient with it selected. There we have it. Okay. All right, another thing, again, like I said, this is gonna you're gonna be this live stream is so helpful just for the things that you're gonna the issues you're gonna run into and how to fix them. Because right in here, I told you earlier, to change or get rid of the stroke, you're gonna have to go right up here to your options bar at the top. But if you look at my option bar, it's like, hey, where did the stroke go? Right? And this is what I think is weird, to be honest with you. It's because I have a different tool selected. I actually need to go down to a vector tool. Once I have that vector tool selected, right? Now it shows me, oh, the stroke is right here. And now I can change it or get rid of it. So again, just be mindful of that. Switch to your vector tool, change the stroke. It's all about love today because I really appreciate you guys. I also want this light to come from the top, so we're going to change maybe the angle of this a little bit, kind of up like that. I'm going to do a Command T, not a Command T, Command J to jump that layer. Here we have this one, Command T to maybe flip it vertically. Bam, just for fun. Hey, why not? Let's convert this to a smart object. And you know what? Let's jump in and let's go into distort. And what I want to do is I want to create a reflection of this shape in the water. Okay. So I need to distort it a little bit. I'll go to filter, I'll go to distort, and I'll go down to wave, right? It's cool because this wave effect gives you this really large panel that you get to work with. No, it doesn't. It's horrible. I want to be able to resize this, right? But come in here, put the number of generators to maybe 1 or 2. You don't need a lot, but the more you're going to have, it's this slider that, it's this slider that screws up everybody. It's because they have too many generators and it gets crazy. Okay, so go a little conservative there. You want to play with the scale at the bottom. You can always work with the amplitude, but that's how you get that jitteriness. We'll click OK, and there we have that jitteriness right down there. And we can jump in, play with the blend mode. Why not? Overlay, soft light, one of these. Who's gonna be my friend? Overlay is always my friend. Right, I could cut out the bushes, do all that stuff. You got it. All right. Spooky, scary skeletons. Thank you, Sam, for posting that. Sig Brown just calling out Photoshop. Photoshop's never been intuitive by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, skeletons, that's what you're talking about. I didn't even notice that panel popped up. All right, let's get us focused again to our beautiful gradients and our lovely shapes panel, which will be so helpful even moving forward. I find it hugely beneficial when I'm creating content. There we are. Okay, let's do some more fun things with this, right? Oh yeah, thank you. How do we get our vector drawings into Photoshop from Illustrator and have it stay vector? Michelle, you brought up such a good point. Let's talk about I think this is so appropriate. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but this needs to be said. And then we'll get into modifying this more, right? But this is already turning in kind of cool. We're gonna do some more fun things in here, by the way. In and out of Illustrator, right? So we have this heart that happens to be a vector shape. Guess what? This vector shape can be modified, right? We can go into adding and removing points, direct selection tool to select certain points. Here's Illustrator, paste into Illustrator. I always do compound shape fully editable, pasting it in. Oftentimes it'll is it even gonna paste it in? So that's what it did. It made it really large, so that was kind of throwing me off. But when you paste it in, it's not going to have any of that color or anything like that. But you can paste it in. It's no longer connected. But this is what I would do. If I was making something in Illustrator, we could go into, what shall we do? Arrows. Arrows are not that interesting, but it's works for the message I'm going for. Right? Here's this shape that I can then modify. Wait for it. Wait for it. I'm going to break a link. There we go. Got a crazy bounding box right there. Don't need that. This is not, I get it, it's not an Illustrator challenge. Guess what? There's an Illustrator daily creative challenge available as well. But here's my arrow, by the way. So there it is. Copying it, pasting it into Photoshop. We want to keep it as vector. This is the dialogue you want to work with. You want to make sure it's a smart object. Or you can turn it into an actual shape layer as well. So I usually do these two. If it's complex, make it a smart object, because that means you could open up back in Illustrator. If it's simple, you could just use it as a regular shape layer, right? Since it's a simple shape, there it is, pasting that in, resizing it like so, okay? There it is, right? Let's do this. Let's edit it. Give me a second. There's never enough time. I want to show you some more pro tips too. I think this is really good for people who are familiar with Illustrator to come into Photoshop and kind of see how its vector tools work, right? So here's my arrow, right? There it is. This one arrow. Let's do this. You ready for this? All right, it's all about feel the love today, okay? So I'm gonna take this line. We're gonna make sure we could see it. It's gonna go out like that. And you ready for this, everybody? I've shown this before in the past on a masterclass. Oh shoot, I'm sorry. It was showing a little red. Hopefully I'm doing okay. The DCC does need to be an hour, by the way. Yes. Okay, so taking this is my shape. Let's turn off everything else, not to distract it. Here's my arrow. Guess what? I want to take this arrow, and I actually want to duplicate it. And I want to do a step and repeat, because I want these arrows to kind of go around the heart, okay? Okay, so I want to do an Option, Command, T, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm doing Option, Command, T. And then I will rotate it 15 degrees. And move it like so, kind of like that. Okay, so we're gonna have every 15 degrees, maybe 20 degrees, I don't know. I really don't know how this is gonna end up in the end. I know it will work if I did 45 degrees. No, 15 should work then, 15. Let's do that, boom, hit enter. There it is, I just created this second shape. Okay, so now I want to repeat that process because I want these arrows flying around the heart. So that's when I do Shift, Option, Command, T. Bam, 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 bam. It's going around, completely around, and it's back. There it is. All of the layers, all of the shape layers that I made. You guys see all this? Look at all this. Okay, we have our shape. I would take this, I would combine it, because if you have multiple shape layers, you can right-click and right down here, oh, thank you, merge shapes right here. Click, merge into my arrow burst, right? Turn on our heart, adjust accordingly, and now we kind of have a cool, somewhat of a cool design, right? Probably shrink these up a little bit. Everything is vector, which is great, so I can resize them, and it's not gonna, I'm gonna have zero loss of quality, which is fantastic. And I have 5 minutes left still too. This is awesome, right? Okay, let me check over here. That is pretty cool. So so hopefully that makes sense. So remember, Command Option T is your step part, right? So you could do it with anything. If I decide to do this with a line, right? If I want to add just a bunch of like a bunch of lines through this, draw out that line. There's my line, right? Command Option T, move the object. In this case, I can hold down the Shift, and you're used to doing this in Illustrator, and you can do it in Photoshop as well, is what I'm saying. Boom, there's the step part. Shift Option Command T. There we can see it race across the screen, duplicating multiple times. Is it possible to change the gradients on the arrows now? Yes, you can. Provided it's actually all one shape now, so it's going to be a uniform. You're only going to have one option to change the whole thing globally, right? So like right now, for instance, you know, I can add a gradient to this first one right here. Hopefully I can. Unless I'm losing my mind. Oh, there we go. So it has a huge stroke on it. That's the problem, right? So again, I'm so glad you guys are here because you're going to run into these issues. Oh, that stroke was so thick that it's just taking over the whole line. So getting rid of that. Oh, there's the gradient. The gradient actually is there, right? Like that. So I can change it individually, but once I take all of these and let's merge those shapes like so, it's going to make them all one solid color. And from here, I can maybe take off the stroke completely and give it a gradient of a color, right? Cool. Hopefully you guys like this. We're just having fun with these shapes, doing some fun mirroring in here. We can work with clipping masks as well. If I decide to put this inside of the heart, I can just have those lines in there and then decide that it looks ugly. So, right, so now we have some cool, some semi-cool or lame stripes. But now you know how to make them, right? That's pretty cool. Right, there we have our stripes. We can put this in any environment we want, by the way. Remember, we have all these gorgeous landscapes. I apologize, the starter file is so huge, but we have lots to work with. And notice how this really starts to change the look. If you do put this like whatever abstract 3D object in a scene, I would like this landscape. What's really going to sell this is if I actually select this big, I don't know, outcropping, this plateau right here. And in this case, I'll just Command J. I'll jump. Let's do that again. Let's first jump the layer. Select it using the Object Select tool, mask it out, boom, put this on top, bam, and now we have like something that just has like a little bit more depth. Okay, that's all. Yeah, hopefully you like. Thanks, Paul. What's up? Thank you, Paul. Paul Naughton's in the house. By the way, since this is a big file, keep in mind, and I apologize, I can't believe I made this so huge. You want to just do an export as, right? And then just make sure the image size is like 1,000. It only needs to be about 1,000 pixels. Right? It doesn't need to be that big. So when you post it, just make sure it's more manageable, is all I would say. Exporting it out. Bam, to my desktop. And there's my abstract shape. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing. And this is, again, I go from you know, general to more advanced. You ready for this? Taking a sphere or anything that I draw, like I want a heart on fire. Let's just try this. Here's a circle on a new layer with this working, oh, not that working path. Hurry, Paul, because I wanted to show you this. Let me do this. We're going to make a path that is a circle or is even a heart. And then for that path, we will go into filter. We'll go down to render. We'll go to flame. We want to set this heart on fire. Hopefully you're passionate about what you do. And here we have fire or one flame along a path. You get it. Multiple flames along this path, one direction, and it will setting hearts on fire. Hopefully you're passionate about what you do and what you believe in. We believe, you know what? Everybody's the same, and there shouldn't be any discrimination whatsoever. So that's kind of inspiration for this. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Yeah, so much more Paul Naughton is famous. By the way, just get rid of that right there. Let's remove it. There I have my flame that I can play with and adjust the color for, right? Spread the love everywhere, and appreciate you guys. So stay tuned. We've got a full day planned for you, and I appreciate you guys. And we will talk soon. El fuego. It is hot. In fuego. I don't know the difference. Heartburn? Sure. Social media stuff. Thanks.